are thinking in these two subjects. Let's see if I learn how to change slide. Okay, good. I like to start by giving you basically what I'm going to talk about. And after I finish telling you what I'm going to talk about at the end, I tell you what I finished talking about. Let's start with this one. So give you some general background where all this basically, all the regulatory thinking started on this subject and why. Why the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, is focusing on this one. You will see, probably you know why, but I'm gonna just elaborate. And then talk about the essential differences between software as medical device. That's what this one is, software as medical device, and the AI and machine learning. These two subjects that I tell you what is really why. This from a regulatory point of view, it is a difficult thing. From regulatory, from Food and Drug Administration, regulatory-wise, it is difficult. And I'll tell you why, and I give you some example. Goes back in late 80s, early 90s when HIV came, and at that time there was something came up, and I will talk to you on why. And then talk about because of the difficultness, we talk, FDA is coming, and not only FDA, but other divisions talk about the risk categories. If you are going to apply and use you start from the lowest risk, and then go on to the more clinical and more critical. And then talk about the digital health. And this pre-certified pilot program, this is absolutely new. And I will talk more about it. And then the publication that came out recently means last 10, 12 months, last 7, 8 months. And was 4 or 5 months, by June 9, 2019 was the deadline to give it. And so far has been a lot of talk about the discussion paper and request for feedback. Request for feedback means request for feedback from those who are in industry, being Apple, Google, whatever, to give them back to the regulators. The point is that it is true almost always, and you will hear me saying it over and over and over. The methods that are used for this digital health, it's going to somehow mimic the methodology that has been used in drug approval. I use two terms. One is biologics, one is drug. By drug, I mean chemical thing, aspirin, Tainan. But biologics, these are the terminology that's used in drug process approval, Food and Drug Administration. The drug means the chemicals that we very, very clearly know what they are. The biologics is non-chemical, blood, vitamins, vaccines, things of that nature that somehow there is some live things, it's not chemical. You will hear from me this term, this is the same as drug or biologics, because when we are talking about digital health, for most part it is new. I will tell you what new means. The first guideline that came out was a long time ago, was I think late 97, 98, and was approved by 2001, 2002. But let me start by telling you what we mean by artificial intelligence. The intelligence obviously is the computational part of ability to achieve a goal. And by the way, this is not from me, it is from John McCarthy from Computer Science Department. And then the artificial intelligence really is the science and the engineering of making intelligent machines, especially intelligent computers these days and the program. And the main part of it is this, and it does not have to confine itself to methods that are biologically observable, and does not have the limitation of that one. The artificial intelligence and machine learning are techniques used to design and train software algorithm to learn from from the act on the data. That is where the difference is. You use the data to identify something and then learn from to modify the program. Going away from the definition, what we are talking about now, the the main area for it is that it's again, when you talk to different people, especially at the beginning of any disciplines, there are different opinions with respect to artificial intelligence, a device, or any product. In this case, I mean clinical product that can imitate intelligence behavior or human learning and reasoning of it. And these devices, as I mentioned earlier, do not need to limit themselves to biological aspects of it. And these terms, as I said, different terminology is being used. Deep learning, computer-aided detection, and with respect to incorporating some statistical language to it, quote unquote, maybe p-values or any hypothesis testing, and they call it smart algorithm. Then the machine learning, again, as I said, is rapidly being growing through so many areas. And then one more part of it that is really from the regulatory point of view, it is difficult, is adaptive algorithm. Any adaptive algorithm is the part that it learns from the data. As I said, regulatory-wise, this subject started, the first guideline that came out, it was late 90s, 1997. That was when the first draft of guidelines came out. And that was when the head of, the FDA has three parts really. One called CDER, Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, CDER. And another one is CBER, Center for Drug Evaluation, CBER, Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research. And then there is another part that is mostly clinical devices, RPAs, and things of that nature that we are using, even whatever we are using in the emergency room and all that things. And then the wearable that we are using somehow ended up going to CDRH, Center for Device Radiologic and Research, CDRH. That's what the H stands for. Then in 1997, 1995, I believe it was, the head of that center changed, and they started thinking that because some of these devices are being used in clinical setting, they have to find a way to regulate them. The guideline came out, and basically it was general principles of software validation, how you are going to validate it using it in clinical systems. And these guidelines, that's similar to all of the guidelines that come out from the Food and Drug Administration. They were around for a few years, and then by 2002, they were finalized and got approved. And since then, continuously, new guidelines and guidelines comes out, and the latest one was the one that came out about 8 years ago for software as medical device. Now they use that terminology. And AI and ML, the artificial intelligence, and the machine learning are part of it. The main part on this one really was the one that was offered by IMDRF. I will talk to you about this group of people, group of regulatory people. That's what was, as you can see, International Medical Device Regulatory Forum. A group of people from regulatory agencies of different countries got together. I will talk to you about that. But FDA is using these guidelines. And that's the one that I will talk to you more and more about it. And that's the one that's becoming more and more relevant. So basically, what is IMDRF, International Medical Device Regulatory Forum? Thinking of it as, again, I use the term ICH, International Conference for Harmonization. That one also came up in 1990, I would say 1992, 1993. The focus of that one to regulate or harmonize the clinical development across the world. And so that is similar to that. Now, you talk to anyone in clinical trial with respect to drug and biologics, their ICH is basically their angel, their guidelines. All the guidelines comes from that one. And the forum that I'm talking about, the IMDRF, it's similar. It was initiated by several medical device regulators in 2011 to mimic that of the ICH guidelines. And because they did a great job with respect to the guideline that they came up with, FDA has accepted their guidelines, IMDRF, as the guideline that they are doing for artificial intelligence and machine learning. For ICH, there was a mistake made in, when ICH was developed, they brought in, I believe, 3 regions. They used regions, but they meant countries, really. It was Japan, it was Europe, and it was US. And the plan was for ICH to have 4 conferences. The first one was in US, ICH 1 it was, and then the second one was in Europe. I was there, the second one, and a gentleman, one of the very high officials from the regulatory from India, stood up and said that why you are not including other countries, India and all that thing. And the FDA who was talking did an answer, but the bottom line was you have to be more inclusive. For the artificial intelligence, no, this time they knew of that one, and they were a lot smarter. They included more people from all other countries that they could. So as a result, it's more inclusive. They didn't make the mistake that ICH made. And the reason I do remember the discussion was at the time that we were talking about ICH was that these three they were the word region, they meant region countries. These 3 regions, Japan, Europe, and US, are the ones who are developing a lot of new drugs and biologics. Therefore, these are the ones that guidelines is applicable and they should talk about. But with respect to machine learning and artificial intelligence, that is not necessarily the case. As you can see, it is more involved. And then the question that comes up is that why is it that Food and Drug Administration focusing on digital health more and more? Especially that was more accurate under the previous administration of the FDA, under the previous commissioner. The short answer for it is that they have to. They have to focus on digital health. There is no way around it. But the real answer is, or the better answer is, it helps to address public health crises. It enables more efficient clinical practice and diagnosis decision-making. And also, it empowers individuals to take care of themselves and to make a better decision that is applicable to them. Why is FDA focusing? Again, if you look at really from the before being born till any stage of it, all the devices are becoming part of it. Till the time that you go to the hospital and then go to, I don't know, hell or heaven, whichever. It's really from the beginning till the end, the medical devices are becoming part of our daily use. And also, if you look at it from the clinician's point of view, or the patient's point of view, or from the health system as a whole point of view. From the clinician's point of view, predominantly, all these rapid applications that are being developed. And we are doing a lot of image interpretation, especially in oncology. And we are using it and becoming part of it, really. And also the pattern recognition. I was talking to some colleague earlier and saying that now pattern recognition, that those who are in computer science, they know this was developed years ago. I'm talking about 70s, 80s. Now that was the very first thing that the courses, those of you who have seen that, a lot of courses and books even offer, I do remember that. And then from a patient's point of view, it enables them to process their own data to promote their own health. So that's it again, it's important from that. From healthcare system point of view, by improving workflow and the potential for reducing the mistakes that happens. I know if you talk to some clinicians, they will immediately raise hand and tell you, no, 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 you always need a clinician to make decisions. The answer is yes, we understand that. That depends on the risk categories. But when you look at the systems, we can develop things and we can use them in different areas. But in any way, really it's becoming part of our daily use. And I'm going to continue on this one, why the FDA is using, as I said, more medical devices now have the ability to talk with each other. Those of you who are in computer science, again, remember years back, moving from one language to another language was an issue. You saved your data in Fortran, you wanted to use it in another language, that was a problem. But not anymore. All devices now, they communicate with you, or at least most of the devices are communicating with each other. Devices that FDA already have approved are clear. They use a two term. For drug and biologics, we use the word approved. For medical and devices, they cleared the FDA regulation. They don't use the word approved, but it has the same meaning. That means they have the permission to send it to market, and you have the capability to go on NCBS or go to wherever to buy that one. And just to tell you a bit of why this is becoming more, up to this year, more than 30 to 327,000 health-related apps are available, and that is growing, by the way. That is growing, and because of this, the FDA had no choices to focus on this one. In what area, if you call this one is digital health, in what area FDA is focusing from just using it as information technology, or using it as a personalizing medicine, that is becoming more and more and more common, or the wearable devices that most of you are wearing already, and mobile health. These are the areas that they are focusing on. And this personalized medicine, I know the term personalized medicine is being used and not being well defined. If you look at any pills and tablets or drug that you are using for a market, almost all of them, their dosage end up to 0 or 5, 25 milligram or 30 milligram, 80 milligram or 9. Why? Why not 81.5 milligram or 82 milligram? Because we are using average. We are using average, and for the person that is, my mother always, the pill that was taken for, a beta blocker was taken for her systolic or diastolic blood pressure. It was giving her a headache. It was too much. She learned to make it half, and they was taking half. It was not giving her a headache. I'm not recommending this by doing in any way or shape. I'm saying that all the things that we are approving, all the medical drugs that we are approving are based on the average, in some cases based on median, but most of them are based on mean. And that's the way it is. It's not personalized, but using the devices more and more, because now we have more capability to analyze data, more capability to make it personalized, and those variables allows us to do that. From the product that have been approved so far, I am talking about the artificial, this is for the US data. I'm talking about the artificial intelligence on the red one, and the blue one is the artificial intelligence and software as medical device. As you can see, over time it's growing very, very fast, and there is nowhere around it, and that's why. If you want to focus on Taiwan, again, for here we don't have that artificial intelligence, mostly software as medical device. As you can see, over time it's growing very fast. This is, by the way, 2019, it's not finished yet. And I think this data that I have is up to September of 2019, so it's a little bit old. But as you can see, it is going up, and it's going up almost exponentially. And what is the essential difference between the software as medical device versus that of artificial intelligence and machine learning? A software as medical device really, it will not automatically change or modify. And if there is some significant modification in it, it has to go through regulators again and get permission to approve it. You cannot just modify it and just put it in the market. When it comes to AI and machine learning, by nature, they can modify itself by learning, and in that case, they will be either locked, I will talk about it, or continuously learning based on the data that they obtain. What do you mean by locked algorithm? Obviously, this comes from the term. Are those that providing the same result each time, giving them the same input. If you are using it now, giving them some data, you get one output. 5 years from now, assuming the same system is still working, giving the same data, you will get the same input, the same output. Same input gives you the same output. That is when the algorithm is locked. But adaptive algorithm, which that's the nature of this machine learning, what we are talking about, continuously learn from the data, and not only learn, modify its algorithm. You give them one input today versus input another 6 months later after a lot of trial. The result that you will get not necessarily is the same, because in that period of time, by analyzing a lot more data, has modified it. So the same input will not give you the same output. The adaptive machine it implements such for a given set of input, as I say, that give you different output at the rest of the time. Let me tell you a little bit about risk categories, because that is essential in the approval of the software. As I said at the beginning, I told you I'm going to tell you more and more similar to drug and biologics. Similar to drug and biologics, the primary focus of the Food and Drug Administration during the approval and any regulators that is doing is focusing on both the safety and the effectiveness of the medical device or medical drug or medical biologics. These are the main things that they focus on. The first time that you go over there, they want to know if it's safe or not. After they establish this part, then they look at, is it effective or not? That's the bottom line. And then, obviously, the risk and benefit that we are doing concept is always focused on that, safety and efficacy. The regulators that they put together the safe software as a medical device, people from here, they were regulators, and obviously because they were regulators, the main concept to them was the risk categories and the safe and effectiveness. And these categories that they focus on basically are two categories, if you may. One is the importance of the output that the device is giving in the decision making that the healthcare people are making, and also the intended use. These are the two main categories, and then based on these two, they put together some risk categories that they do. That was the main part that they put together. As I said, they were regulators, and because they were regulators from FDA or from Taiwan FDA and all other ones, that they focus on approval, their safety and effectiveness was their main concern. And if you look at it from the risk, from the significance point of view, as you go down, the significance becomes more important. You are using the information only for the clinical management. It's not as important as treating or diagnosing a patient. These are the significance increases as the importance of increases. As you can see, just using it as information or using it to drive clinical management decision, or no, even go one step further, to treat a patient. Again, look at it, that was one aspect of it that I say, that was the importance of, from significance of information provided or the output provided by software as a medical device. You can use it for this reason, and as you go down, the significance increases. Or You can use it for the intended use. Is it for a non-serious decision making? Is it for serious, or is it, no, it's critical. Again, the significance increases as the intended use increases. These are the categories that those who put together IMDFR, they thought about it and they are using it. As again, I say, the software as medical device, possible framework. These are not from me, it's from the group that they put that together. Another component of that is very, very, very important, and that is the independent review. Again, they thought about this one, that if you are going to have a device, a product, a clinical device that is going to be used, or medical device that is going to be used for one way or another one, for helping a clinician to make decision, or helping a patient to make decision, or in the ICU room you are going to use it to make a decision. You have to use something that they call it independent review. Independent review, again, it is something that has been used for a long time, but we didn't call it independent review. We are calling it independent data monitoring committee. What is independent data monitoring committee? Or sometimes they call it independent data safety board. But in any case, is that when we are giving a drug or a biologics to patient that we don't know the final answer, we have a committee. Ongoingly, they review the patient's data and see if it still is safe or not. If it's not safe, they will stop it. For the device, for the software as medical device, being artificial intelligence, being machine learning, it is recommended to have independent review. Really, independent review is extremely important. The same is as independent data safety monitoring committee, because those who are close to the subject, those who are close to the program, they are biased. They become biased because they think it's working. They have spent 5 years, 10 years in that one. They know how to interpret it. But when you have an independent body to review it, they do not have as much bias as the group who is close to it. Therefore, it is recommended by that group to have an independent review group to do it. And then, how do you decide about that independent? This is not software as medical device, not software as. If you look at here, you see that as the category gets higher, the risk getting higher, the importance of having independent review is becoming more and more important. When you are talking about something that is this red line here. These are talking about the things that are not as important. Look at it, just using the information, using to drive treatment. But when you go here for the critical situations, it is extremely important to have an independent review body to do it. Who will constitute that independent review team? One can discuss that and talk about it, but most often for the independent data monitoring committee, usually it is, there are at minimum there are 3 groups in it. One is a statistician that can interpret the data. One is a clinician of the field, if you are dealing with HIV, someone who is knowledgeable in HIV. And one that is knowledgeable with the regulatory aspects of it, that's the minimum. For the independent review, again, has to be discussed. Someone obviously from software development, from the computer language programming, some from data, how to analyze data and things of that nature. But it is extremely important to have that one in the loop. As I said earlier, the CDRH is the one that is handling all this medical device. And this center in particular has been asked to issuing guidelines for medical software. And as I said, this center from the beginning, from 1997, that when this thing came out, was responsible. And now they are initiating a pilot pre-certificate program to develop new approaches to digital health technology. And they call it pre-cert for software. And the main purpose, see, these two already, the CDRH has achieved these 2 steps. This one, that is building FDA bench strength. They are working on this one very hard, but they are not there yet. And that is always the case. They are behind in many cases. I talked about this one, and due to time, I'm gonna just skip it because I prefer to have question and answer. That's gonna be a lot better. And the per-certified pilot, what is the software? What is that? The FDA vision is that future regulatory model will provide more efficient regulatory oversight of the software as medical device. The main purpose, the main reason really is that when you talk to pharmaceutical and biotech, they think that FDA is regulating and is controlling too much. When it comes to the digital health, they are trying to find a way that's within the same organization. They are trying to see if they can better it. They can have less regulation. The less regulation, some people think the more innovation. Regulation, the thinking is, again, two groups. One group saying that the more regulation is better. Why? Because health and safety of patients is extremely important. The other group are the innovators, the researchers. They think, no, regulation tie our hands doesn't let us to move ahead as fast as we can. So these two thinking are there. And the reason for talking about pre-certified program, that means allowing some companies to regulate themselves. Apple, these are the ones that are selected already from hundreds of company applications that went to FDA. Only 9 of them were selected. That the thinking is these companies can regulate themselves. If you want my thinking, I don't believe that's ever going to happen. I don't believe ever it's going to, the Food and Drug Administration is going to let companies decide about evaluated, validated, and then marketed without going through the regulatory approval process. But the thinking is that, if the digital health company is FDA pre-certified, and then because they are pre-certified, they can look at the risk categories, as I said, the low risk only for information versus the high risk being critical, only for the low risk categories, being able themselves to just send it to market, not going through the FDA review. They go through the FDA, and even if they're gonna go through the FDA, they should go through, quote unquote, streamlined pre-market review. This is pre-market. That means you cannot sell your digital health product unless before going to market is reviewed by a regulator. So they are looking at this aspect of it, and that's the main purpose of this pre-certified pilot program. The key component, as I said, is that to determining the pre-certification level based on the established criteria. Again, extremely, it's the point that has to be very, very clear at what level, what categories, what risk level they can, because the FDA is an organization that is process dependent. And to identify data and information that a pre-certified company would include in its pre-market submission to FDA, and also some of them have been told that post-market you can, after you sell it, you can re-evaluate it. And you have seen the product that came out from Apple, pre-market risk and the response rate versus post-market is huge difference. The post-market data also are used to improve the safety and the effectiveness of the product. I talked about this, the framework that is being out there and trying to see if they can use it to let the product go to market through the process of pre-certified organizations. This is the regulatory, the framework. It's not guidance. This is a framework for modification to AI and machine learning based software devices. This is the one that is out there. It's not regulated. It's being heavily discussed by the industry, and by pharmaceutical and by FDA to send it out. One thing that I would like to say that if this discussion goes on, this discussion goes back, FDA has to go back to the government, to the statutory authority, to get the permission that they can approve a medical device that the input that you put in it today gives one output. 6 months later, put the same input, get a different output. They cannot do that. They have to get permission. As I was talking to some colleagues in what was it, the late 80s, early 90s, it was the HIV, the beginning of HIV. The first drug that was approved was Zidovudine or AZT. And FDA decided to, before that, or for any drug or drug that comes to market, when FDA is going to approve it, they will look at the quote-unquote clinical outcome. What is clinical outcome? Clinical outcome is the person can live longer or not, can walk or not, some clinical function. But then when it came for HIV, they didn't have that much. So they were looking at some laboratory marker, the CD4 cell count. Those of you who are familiar with the HIV disease, CD4 is an immune that we have around 1,000, 1,200 normal people. But then the HIV virus attacked that immune system. And all of a sudden, it goes down drastically to become a few hundred. And the definition of AIDS at that time was, I do believe it was below 200. When the CD4 cell counts go below 200, it called them, because at that time, then you cannot, your immune system went down. That's what HIV stands for. The word AIDS is acquired immune deficiency syndrome. That's what AIDS stands for, acquired immune deficiency syndrome versus those with it. But anyway, when immune deficiency goes down, but the drug that we're coming to market, not coming to market, what we're going through approval, they were looking at those chemicals that improve CD4 to increase. And because HIV was making the CD4, the immune system, go down. But FDA could not approve it, because this is not a clinical outcome. This is a laboratory outcome. FDA had to go get permission to approve based on a laboratory outcome. The clinician over there, they were arguing, I was part of FDA at that time, they were arguing that we treat patients, we don't treat laboratory markers. And they had to go through get approval. The same is here. They have, if they are going to approve a clinical product, clinical device, that the input that goes through it now gets one output. 6 months later, you put the same input, you get a different output. They cannot approve such a product. They have to go and get permission and put limitation and all that things for it. But anyway, I'm trying to tell you that really there are some, although the framework is there, they're going to work on it, but it is not there yet. They have to go through a lot of things. And then another thing that is extremely, extremely important is the quality system. Those of you who are familiar with pharmaceutical drug and biologics and all that thing, you are familiar with good clinical practice, good laboratory practice, good whatever, extra, GMP, GCP, GTP, and then now we are going to come up with good machine learning practice. You have to have some system, and that one depends on the data management of it, and this one has to have how you are going to extract the results, what is the training, how you are going to evaluate it, and then implement it. These are the aspects of it that are really parts of it if you are going to use any machine learning program for medical device. Okay, just summarizing what I said, and I'm sorry I went over my time by a few minutes. Basically what I'm trying to tell you is that what I say that from regulatory-wise, although it started from 1997, but the thing has changed drastically. The forum that put together by several regulators, they are the one who really are the one that developed the guidelines. And the digital health is becoming extremely important day by day. And in the last few years, really last 3, 4, 5 years, the software as medical device has gone up by about 400%, as I gave you the data. Some of the data, Maggie is going to give you more than that. And it is, as I say, that it is extremely important, but the risk categories are the ones that they're going to identify which device is going to come up and without approval or with approval, without clearance or without clearance. And one thing that is extremely becoming important, if someone is, we used to, many years ago, we were emphasizing pharmaceutical companies coming to us when we saw the drug or the biology that they have, it is risky. We always ask them, let's put together a committee that we call it the Independent Data Safety Committee, that is independent of the physicians, independent of the pharmaceutical, independent of all that. They will review the data and they do not have any reason to be biased. And now for, if anyone or developing something that they are going to use, having an independent review is extremely helpful. Who will be part of that independent group? It's not identified yet, but for the Independent Data Safety Monitoring Committee, it is. But no stakeholder should be in that decision-making part of it. And the potential new regulatory framework for that is in the making at FDA, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time till it is approved, if it goes through or not, because it is very hard for them to have the industry to self-regulate themselves. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.